everybody. Welcome back to the AI in Action video series. We're super excited to have with us today Professor Neubig, who is a professor in the Language Technologies Institute here at Carnegie Mellon, and also the co-founder and chief scientist of All Hands AI. So thanks so much for being here, Professor Neubig.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
As a professor, a big part of what you do is research, but you also have the chance to teach, including the advanced NLP course. So what has been sort of your favorite moment or biggest takeaway from each?
Yeah, that's a good question. So from research, I don't know, it's like a series of smaller moments, I guess. Each research paper you do, you discover new things and learn about things. So I feel like in a way, I like teaching, but I also like learning. So it's a way of constantly learning and, going into teaching, I'm teaching the advanced NLP course, and because I'm doing research on NLP, it's really nice to be able to teach something that's like directly in my area of expertise. It's also a good opportunity for me to learn a little bit more about things I should know but don't know. So
Okay.
like when new topics come up, I try to keep it like constantly current.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are things that I've heard a little bit about, but I haven't like taken enough time to really understand deeply. And so every time I update my class, it's my opportunity to teach myself first before I teach other people. So that's what I like about it.
So kind of one of the areas that's super hot right now is AI agents.
Mhm.
And you're someone who's pretty deeply involved with that, including with All Hands AI
Mhm.
and sort of coding agents. So I'm kind of curious, what got you into the space in the first place?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And I've actually been working on code generation since 2014, so 11 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And what got me into this is at that time I was working on machine translation, so like translation from, for example, English into Chinese or English into Japanese or vice versa. I was working with a student who was a competitive programmer, and he said,
Okay.
hey, we're translating between English and Japanese, but Python's also a language too.
Mm-hmm.
We can translate into Python and solve competitive programming problems.
Right.
And I was like, that's crazy. You're never going to be able to do it, but we should try anyway.
Right.
And so we tried it anyway, and it didn't work very well at the time just because the technology was not quite there yet.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like deep learning and neural networks were starting to become popular.
Yeah.
And so when I came to CMU, which was in 2016, one of the things I pitched as my first project when I was interviewing here was I'm going to make like code generation things.
Oh, awesome.
And so yeah, I've been working on it since then. Then we kind of naturally progressed from like doing smaller things like generating one line of Python to generating like Python functions to going like all the way to agents.
Mm-hmm.
And so just as like the AI models have gotten better, we've gradually progressed, to doing more complex things.
Looking ahead, what would you say are maybe the things that you're most excited about? This could be in the coding space, this could be in the broader space as well. Things that you think would be, pretty important or upcoming, say, like breakthroughs for agents.
Yeah, so I can think like maybe short and middle term. So like thinking short term, I am excited about getting more people to learn about what coding agents can do because I use them all the time myself, but even I feel like people in CMU don't quite know how useful they can be for various things. So, I use them all the time for both like coding new software projects and for, analyzing data in experiments and research. I have used them like just recently. I'm teaching a new class in the fall semester, so I asked my coding agent to convert my old class website into a new class website. And so I gave it the code for my old class website, and I gave it the academic calendar for CMU and next semester, and it just did it for me.
Right.
Like converting all the dates, converting the content into a new syllabus and stuff like that. And so like these are all things I don't want to do,
Right.
but like I can get an agent to do it for me instead.
Yeah.
So like short term, I'm excited about telling people about this. In addition, research-wise, there's a bunch of problems. Like if you actually start using something, you realize all the problems. So
Right.
I feel like my research goals are kind of guided by the things that I don't like about how agents work nowadays. So, for
Okay.
example, we've released several papers recently. One paper is on getting agents to be better at asking clarifying questions,
Yeah.
because that's a problem that a lot of language models have. Like they'll go off and just try to do things without gathering all the information they need first. We've had other papers on like adding into the memory of agents because we'd like agents that get continually better
Right.
as like they do more work, and so we've done that sort of stuff too. In the medium term, in long term, like I like coding and I like, developing software, but I think software is a kind of a means to an end.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and the ends that I want to aim for are kind of like positive societal impacts.
For sure.
For example, like solving the big problems that we're faced nowadays, like global warming or hunger or things like that. And it's I would say if I had said the same thing 2 to 3 years ago, I might have like felt like I was exaggerating or something like that. But I honestly think that this technology is going to be extremely powerful, and so there's a real chance that within the short term, over the next decade or so, we could make significant dents in these problems, and a lot of it will be driven by the like speed of progress improvement that we get through AI. And then the final thing I'm really excited about is making sure it remains accessible. So
Right.
like a lot of the development is, within kind of like closed companies and things like that. So I'm a big proponent of open source and open development of this. And like, my research is all open source at CMU. My company is based around building open source agents and things like this. So I'd say those are the three things I'm most excited about.
How do you see coding agents potentially changing the way, or potentially changing like what is taught in courses, or potentially changing like the way that education is sort of conducted? Like maybe now we have like a coding agent that can serve as kind of like a companion, like a study kind of buddy type of
Yep.
situation. Is that something you've maybe thought of?
Yeah, I've thought of the skills that are going to be necessary to be a good software developer in the future, and I think even if you ignore the agents, just think about the fact that we have good code completion or we have ChatGPT to write code for us or things like that. Um, Producing code is probably going to be less important, I guess. What will be important is architecting code, like knowing what code should be written where, how it should be modularized, things like this is going to be important. Being able to verify that code is correct is going to be very important. Um, I think multitasking is going to be more important because it used to be that programmers would have to sit there and write one file of code for a very long time and concentrate very deeply. But with code generation, the amount of time you need to spend doing that is going to be a lot less. And so I think, yeah, the skill set that's going to be necessary is going to be different. So for example, education will probably have to teach people how to verify that AI written code is correct or not.
Yeah.
And the mistakes can be very small and like small with big consequences.
Right. Such as, I guess, for example, like security, I guess might be one of the areas too. Or
Security is definitely an area. Yeah, I think security is a big area. Another one is just like they tend to do some like coding agents. If you use them, they tend to do something that is very close to what you wanted, but not exactly what you wanted. They also do silly things like writing the same file in different places in your code base. Or um, I have this horrible example where I wouldn't say horrible, but this example that like made me go like this, which is we were developing a front end, like a UI, and you use like JavaScript UI libraries to do that. And we already were using one UI library, but it decided to introduce another one that did exactly the same thing. And it's just like a mistake that no competent developer would do, but
Yeah.
like, yeah. So there's lots of examples.
As AI gets better and better,
Mhm.
whether it's researching things or whether it's coding or fixing bugs, things
Yep.
like that, do you sort of see like how do you see software engineering like job market potentially shifting over the next couple of years to maybe adapt to these efficiency gains?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I don't think anybody really knows very well. One thing I can say is we do have precedent to this debate, which is I worked a lot in translation and machine translation, and machine translation has been very good for a lot longer than code generation has been very good. And surprisingly or unsurprisingly, there's actually more translators now than there were ever, despite the fact that translation is a lot better. And people were saying that translation was a job that was in danger or something like this. And the reason why is because translation and localization have a very high demand, and that demand was so high that the efficiency gains afforded by translation made it cheaper, increased the amount of demand, and eventually there's more translators now doing
Right. Okay.
all the stuff that there was demand for in the first place. Then the question is, for software, like what is it going to look like? I don't think, like, I might be wrong, but I don't think AI is going to completely automate all of the jobs that a software engineer does at the moment. And I think there is going to be even more demand for software than there is ever for translation. So I think my guess is that it will just make, programming more accessible. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to read the futures. So and technology is progressing fast. So yeah, it's a difficult question.
Yeah, it remains to be seen, and hopefully we can sort of guide it towards a relatively bright future.
And another thing that I think is really, really important, and it's part of the reason why I am very interested in open source and want to see it succeed, is like, if this is going to have a really big impact on software engineering, I want to have it have an impact in a way where software engineers can participate in it and download it and use it on their computer for free if they want to, and things like this. So yeah, from that point of view, I'm very like mission driven to like make sure that remains the case, and there are good options and open source that people can download and use.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also really great to kind of see how the Open Hands community has sort of continued to grow from sort of its inception. So do you maybe have any recommendations for how CMU students could sort of fold in Open Hands into their workflows? Maybe not really for coursework, but maybe for other things that they're doing.
It's a good question. Like, one of the problems that we have actually is, if I tell you that I have a coding agent that can write any code you want, and then it's kind of like somebody asking, "Oh, well, you know Spanish. Please say something in Spanish," right? You're like, "What should I say in Spanish?" But basically, it can do most things that you want. A first thing that you can try out is, like, let's say you want to visualize something, or you want to create a website. Ask it to create a website in Flask or JavaScript or something like that, and it will do that for you. Ask it to analyze some data for you, or like, if you have visualize something you want to visualize or something, and you'll see what it can do. I think the real power and differentiating part of coding agents is when you start to use them to incrementally improve projects. So like, just creating, like, this is crazy that this is true right now, but like, just creating an app from scratch is like easier than it ever has been before, and there's a million different services that allow you to do this now. But creating an app and then gradually improving it until it's something that's really, really usable is actually kind of the harder part. And if you have a use case like that, I definitely like encourage people to try it out and see how far they can get. And I've created apps like, for example, a JavaScript app that monitored our GitHub for all of the pull requests that were sent by our agent, and seeing whether they were merged or not merged, or other things like that, and is updated over time. And I wrote no code to do this, so like, you can do pretty complex things.
Do you see maybe agents going in the direction of really being like voice-based, or like voice-activated, that kind of situation? Or do you think it'll sort of be maybe like a balance between voice and text?
When you talk to your friends, you sometimes call them and you sometimes text them, right?
Exactly.
So I kind of view it this way. I feel like I use voice with AI more than the average person. Like, I do a lot of my searches through voice and stuff like this. But even being a relatively like voice-oriented person, I'm still a little bit embarrassed when I'm sitting in my like office here with the door open, saying, please implement this JavaScript app that does X, Y, and Z, or something like that. So I think there's some level of social barrier to like everything being voice. So, yeah, probably both have their place.
Awesome. Yeah, and I guess it's an exciting development sort of as well, being able to kind of go either or, whichever kind of suits your current task or wherever you are.
But if anybody is working on speech recognition, if somebody could make a speech recognizer that recognizes like all the programming terms, that would be great, because like none of the ones I've used have been able to do that. So that's an open research thing.
Yes, exactly. For our viewers, this is something maybe you could think of working on. It'd be an exciting and fun project. Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you so much for your time today, Professor Neubig. It was great chatting. And
yeah, thanks a lot for talking about this. This is my favorite topic right now, so happy to do so.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.